My name is Motiso James, and this is my story. This morning, I was having a conversation with a fellow Savorite. His name is Ryan, and we were discussing about branding and its contribution to landmarks. And that's what landmark has stuck with me up until now, that I'm giving this version of my story on my experience with Savo Fedha. You realize that from the definition of landmarks, it's either a geographical beacon that assists in wayfinding or direction finding. And if it's not that, then it's an event that happens in history that sets a precedent for the happening of similar things in future. So let me just start from the story of Fedha, the geographical place. Before we came to Fedha as a company, there was a landmark, and Fedha was synonymous with the Tel Aviv building. Normally when you are coming to Fedha and asked for direction, you'll be directed by the Tel Aviv building. But then for what we've been able to achieve so far in terms of the levels that we've built at Savo Fedha, for one reason or another, which is a good reason, we are the new landmark at Fedha. And you'd realize that normally when you're coming from town, when you alight at the nearest stage, which is Bata or stage mpya, you normally hear people telling you, nataka kuenda karibu na ile Savo mpya, naishi karibu na Savo mpya, or just they'd say something and then they'd refer to the building, which goes to show that we have become the new landmark for Fedha as a geographical place. So by even the word Savo mpya, that tells you that when you translate that to an English phrase, it's a superlative phrase that shows you that we've been here before, and truly we've been here before with Savo Studios and Savo 90 Degrees. This right here is the newest project in Fedha. So I'd like also to talk of my experience here with the second definition of a landmark. And that is an event that happens that changes the course of history or sets the precedence for future happenings. And for example, an event like the fall of the Berlin Wall, that's a landmark event that changed the course of history in terms of the two sides of the Europe that were divided by the Berlin Wall. And for me, 2023 to 2024, that was the time that we were doing the construction for this building. And that period in itself, I choose to look at it like a landmark event. When we came to this site, we could have chosen to conform to what we found here in terms of the architectural setting of the place, and we could still have chosen to stand out in terms of be ourselves and just do something that is out of this place definition of residential buildings. But for some reason, we chose to be both and of conforming and standing out. You know, when you speak of Eastlands, it's synonymous with affordability, affordable apartments, affordable living, such terms. And for a word like affordability, it is a relative term. You know, when you talk of affordability in terms of living, what you pay for rent has to be a percentage of, it should not be more than a certain percentage of your income. And also when you talk of an affordable investment, what you pay as a monthly installment to that investment cannot be more than a certain percentage of your income. So affordability is a relative word, and when we came here, we choose to conform to that. We choose to do something that is affordable. We choose to conform to affordability, but then also choose to stand out in terms of the amazing quality of affordability that we've given the people around here. They are affordable apartments, but they contain the aspect of amazing in them. So we choose to embrace the concept of both and instead of choosing between affordability and standing out. So that is only one aspect of a landmark event that I believe will set precedents for buildings to come in this place. Now, there's also the aspect of, for example, the functions that are contained in buildings. You'd realize that real estate is a business, and you know that Nairobi is only so big. There's only so much land that you can get in Nairobi, and for such reason, real estate investments, people will always try to push the limit on the private residential space. The private residential space, because that's what people pay for. But then we forget, when people live in apartments, they still need space to relax, they still need space just to be out. And for this building, we choose to stand out in that aspect, that we provided amazing residential residential spaces, but then combine that with very amazing public spaces. Now, what this does is that if you try to have public spaces, no one will pay for that. But then for this building, we've chosen to work around that and make sure that through our concept of convenience, we've made those spaces usable, and then we have achieved a combination of highly profitable residential spaces, but also public spaces that are also profitable to the people. They serve the people that retail the things, or rather, for example, the cafeterias that they retail in them, and also they serve the people who use the building. Something else that we've chosen to stand out in this building, I believe, was on our concept of form and space, or rather how we chose to make this building. Now, if you can just take a walk around the Fedha location, you realize that in most of the buildings that you get in, you realize that, for example, if someone is providing one-bedroom apartments, you find that there's a whole building full of one-bedroom apartments. But then you realize that does not embrace our diversities as people, that does not embrace our needs as people, because then you're assuming that everyone that is in the urban space needs to live in a one-bedroom apartment, but that is not really the case.